Hey folks, it's Johnny Flynn. All is well. We're making major headway and we're getting a lot more followers, a lot more questions, and we can't answer all the questions. But as you know, I've been highlighting an article every day, and today's article you might have to read twice. And thanks to, Rings End Lumber, Darien, Connecticut, all their guys support me, and there's lots of Republicans there. Many are libertarians, actually, but they don't know it. So what I'd like you to highlight, read it twice, folks. It's important. Here's the name of the case. Let me switch to a more readable format. Let me take myself off the screen. We got to highlight this case. It's super important, okay? And no one else is talking about issues like this. Obviously, you know who Lesa Page was, who with Strzok, and they worked on Crossfire Hurricane. They surveilled a sitting president based on falsified warrants. The Clinton Foundation paid Sussman, and Sussman lied to FBI investigation teams. But this is really important, folks, okay? Now, the judge who presided over the case is talked about here. Now, first of all, the first thing you need to realize is they don't mention the judge's name, okay? And it's important because the problems that Connecticut has with its judges, for example, Heller, her special master was John Carberry, NASDAQ's attorney, who covered up for Bernie Madoff and all his cocktail parties, who funded the DNC. And you need to look at the finance committee as far as Goldman Sachs is concerned. They own the land under the Tweed Airport right now, and the alderman of New Haven just approved the Tweed Airport deal. So Jim Himes takes a kickback from Goldman Sachs. Lamont's right-hand man, Lehman, is a Goldman Sachs guy. And Goldman Sachs owns the land, as I was saying. So Connecticut's paying Goldman Sachs, whose partners make $15 million a year, I might add, to approve a deal where they have a 43-year break-even. Folks, 43-year break-even is a bad deal. Most deals break even within 8 to 10 years. And that's not including the kickbacks they'll never get. So watch out, folks. There's so much corruption on the judicial scale. It's part of my platform that I say Connecticut's problem is prosecutorial misconduct. Look at the jails closing, the courts being closed for since March of 2020, 31 murder trials on hold. 31 murder trials on hold. Are you telling me we can't have a jury distance in a courtroom with a judge? We can't put them 6 feet apart? And they can't wear masks? I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous that we're closing the prisons. We closed 3. We closed the maximum security prison. It had 65 inmates. It used to have 300. At one point, it had 500. Well, those people are being released, and they're all white. It's actually white-collar crime. If you look at the statistics, whites in jail graph is left to right, decreasing. And blacks and Hispanics in jail, the absolute inverse. In other words, we're jailing more Hispanics and blacks and releasing all the whites. So what does that tell you? It tells you that they have a false narrative, folks. Let's get back to this article because it is super important. The grand jury indictment this week against Sussman, a DOJ veteran, detailed how he met with Baker, lied to Baker, said he wasn't being compensated by any of his clients, when in fact Hillary Clinton was his client. Fusion GPS is his client. And the campaign was working and surveilling a president while the falsified warrants came under our Congressman Jim Himes's oversight. Not only that, that Comey was appointed by a majority, obviously 93-1, and as a Republican got bribed, I say, by D'Alio, $14 million in Connecticut. Now, D'Alio runs Blackwater Hedge Fund, the largest hedge fund in the world. It's got a Democratic donor list. It's everyone under the sun. They meet at Grace Farms in New Canaan on the border of Pound Ridge, my hometown. And the events are, they have good events, don't get me wrong. The human trafficking event was superlative, okay? But honestly, giving awards to trafficked women instead of, doesn't help anyone, and legalizing prostitution doesn't help women, okay? Legalizing marijuana doesn't help students, kids. It doesn't, because it's a gateway drug, okay? They start, they get hooked, they need more and more, and it's anti-productive. And it's costly. Other states have legalized marijuana before Connecticut. But let's get to this article, okay? I don't want to go off on a tangent. All these topics are related, though, okay? Now, look. Page worked as a lawyer with Baker at the FBI. Now, what's interesting is this judge, who they mention his name in the article. Let's find his name, or I'll point it out when we get there, okay? Why talk about a judge repeatedly and never name him? Why? Because they don't want you to understand the story. You need to read this article 3 times before you actually figure out that Page worked with Baker, okay? Baker was lied to by Sussman, and all 3 worked on Crossfire Hurricane. So here's the judge's name, Christopher Cooper, appointed to the federal bench by Obama, unanimous Senate confirmation. There should never be a unanimous Senate confirmation. Look at the unanimous Senate confirmation of Comey. He was a Republican bribed by the DNC, hedge funds that are slowly but surely taking over. And by the way, the risk in the stock market is enormous right now. Back in the 80s, 2% of hedge funds were index related, 2%. So everyone getting in and out and liquidity issues did not exist. I mean, not to the extent that they do now. Now 44% of hedge funds are index related, okay? They don't invest on fundamental research. They don't have research staffs, and they rely on S&P for their ratings, for their recommendations, and those companies are compensated by the companies themselves that are recommended. So look how we got into trouble with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Buy ratings by S&P when they were actually bankrupt, undercapitalized, and the federal government owning the mortgages themselves is a gigantic trap. So artificially keeping interest rates low will end up with inflation, and we're seeing it, folks. You can't buy a steak at Stu Leonard's anymore. They're $30 for London broil. That's less than 2 pounds. It is farm raised and grass fed, but when you look at the prices of beef lately, you can't touch a regular steak anymore, a New York strip steak. And also, look at the price of lobster, $18.99 a pound if they're over a pound and a quarter. We have no lobsters, okay? Bob Duff is mentioning how great the lobster industry is doing. It's destroyed because the estuaries are destroyed. Why? Because there's 10,000 brownfields in Connecticut that leach hazardous waste into the oyster beds and don't listen to half the things that you hear, folks, because this is a cabal running the media. Let's get back to this very important, super important topic, okay? Cooper was a special assistant to Deputy Attorney Jamie Gorelick volunteer for the Obama administration. America for Obama. He vetted the team in 2008 and served with the transition team in the DOJ. Cooper and his wife, Amy Jeffries, were married. Garland, the Attorney General, officiated their wedding. They're claiming that the DOJ violated the Privacy Act by releasing her FBI texts to the media where she was committing a criminal act. My phone keeps ringing, so I can't answer it. Here we go. The banner picture for Page's Twitter profile appeared to feature herself and Jeffries. Here we go. Her Twitter page glorifies her connection to Cooper and the Sussman indictment. So when you look at the facts, you have to say, hey, they all had a conflict of interest. They were working together. If you look at the rest of these questions here, Jeffries' LinkedIn profile indicates she worked for the Justice Department from 1994 to 2014 and counselor on national security for Eric Holder, who was fired. Jeffries currently works at Arnold and Porter Law Firm, and the firm's representation of Lesa Page is touted on its website. Lesa Page should be in jail, okay? Lesa Page committed treason. Yes, she did. So did Strzok. So did Brennan, CIA, oversight manager. So did multiple people at the FBI, including Comey, and the bribes for that Republican went back to the DNC. So you really have to be concerned here with Republicans that take enormous amounts of money from hedge fund managers. And look, special counsel lawyer Andrew DeFilippis told the judge on Wednesday, the discovery in this case will be voluminous. We think that more than an average case. Government records, private sector records. The Sussman lawyer Sean Berkowitz said Durham's team was working expeditiously on getting him a security clearance. They don't have security clearance, folks. They can't get the documents they need. This is obstruction. Here we go. Durham has secured one guilty plea thus far against Kevin Kleinsmith, who's not going to jail. Okay? He admitted last year that he falsified a document during the Bureau's efforts to renew Pfizer surveillance against Trump. Now, my Congressman, Himes, has oversight of the FBI, hasn't called for an investigation of anyone, hasn't even called for an investigation of Oxy. He took a bribe from Oxy. His assistant was stabbed 39 times because he knew too much. And this is a gigantic problem coming from Connecticut, okay? Murphy, treason, multiple times. No one's indicted John Kerry for tipping off Iraq and Al-Qaeda to Israel's plan. Israel only has 9 million people in it, folks. 9 million against 38 million in Iraq. 60 million. I mean 38 million in Iraq, yes. Iran has 60 million. Look at the numbers. Do you know about the groups in Israel? You really should know. It's like, let me put it this way. Irish people, let's put it in that terms. The South is Catholic, the North is Protestant. How do you tell the difference? They're intermarried. They're genetically the same. When you look at the differences and what's happened over the hundreds of years, you will find out that they're joined at the hip, yet separated, and want to wipe each other out. Now, when we get back to the issue at hand, read the second part of this paragraph. Kevin Kleinsmith admitted last year he falsified a document to renew FISA surveillance against Trump campaign associate Carter Page. Why? Because one thing is clear. When Hillary wants to destroy someone with influence, being groomed for higher position, take Tulsi Gabbard. Lovely lady, Democrat, middle of the road, okay? Not an extremist at any... Right now she's a reserve, combat veteran, perfect. When you look at her, Hillary herself called her a Russian spy to discredit her and name call, smear her. That's what's going on here. We have a problem in Connecticut that our judiciary is completely screwed up. Look at McDonald and the recent appointments to clean up the police misconduct. Okay? Look who they are choosing. They're choosing lobbyists for the vaccine. 2 of them out of 4 are from the law firm. You need to look at that. That is seriously questionable. Plus the fact that McDonald hates the Catholic Church because he's gay. You know, work your own situation out. You know, I'm Catholic. And when you look at these questions about the judiciary and what they did to Carter Page was illegal, why hasn't Jim Himes arrested the people who broke the law? Brennan, Clapper, Page, Strzok. Why? Because they are working for Jim Himes at Jim Himes' approval. We need to get rid of the cancer-causing Connecticut Congress people. We can outline them one by one, what they've done. It's not just a question of who they voted for, what bills they voted for. If Joe Courtney votes with Pelosi 99% of the time, hey, that's a problem. Why? Because Blumenthal just drafted the abortion bill. After drafting the Iran deal and the Green New Deal. Who's the biggest problem in Connecticut? The guy drafting the bills they are pushing. Why? Because Blumenthal owns 2 Chinese hotels through his brother-in-law. Yeah, he owns a partnership in a Chinese radio station and a partnership in a television station in China, creating propaganda. And look at the Chinese problem that we have with them stealing our technologies. Blumenthal doesn't care. No, he's investing over there. Why? Because there is a point where the Bidens and Hunter Biden, it was just released that Hunter Biden has an issue with extorting Libya to get payments to release funds held in banks, Libyan money, to get that released. And he's extorting based on his relationship from 2015. Well, hold on a second. That's under my other senator's auspices. Why is Chris Murphy supporting paying terrorists? What about the Houthis? He took them off the terror watch list. He thinks terrorist organizations aren't terrorist organizations and they can be trusted. I'm telling you, we're going down a road towards annihilation. And with the K container ship industry payment from the Clintons, from Hillary Clinton to Bill Clinton, that was under the Transportation Committee auspices, we are now faced with, the Democratic talking point about why there are shortages is that the ports in China are closed. No, there's 56 container ships off one port in California right now. 56. And what's on those ships? Containers. What do they have? They have container ship technology that contains nukes. Yes, and who funded it? A, the Abraj Group. B, the same people behind the other Uranium One deal. And paying the Clintons to further this agenda is all under Jim Himes's auspices, because he has FBI oversight, CIA oversight, NSA oversight, and he's the last person in the United States that we should follow. You know he's from Peru? Have you seen what's going on in Peru? 6 weeks ago, they voted in a extreme leftist. So now the companies are shutting down. All types of companies. Milling companies, mining companies, silver mining companies, copper mining companies, shutting down because they'd rather not do business, and they need to wait till there's a regime change to start to work again. We've got issues where dominoes are falling across the country, across the continent, and across the world, where we're not going to get these things back. So anyone still supporting Biden after these last 100 debacles, listen to Tulsi Gabbard's last post. It's her saying we have a border crisis that's a national security problem because we don't know who's coming in, who's carrying fentanyl, who's coming to Connecticut. And yeah, they have bleeding hearts for everyone in Afghanistan. Connecticut's taking 300 refugees. Okay, look at the number of refugees with criminal records that have been found out. There is quite a few. There were 2 yesterday. So when you read the articles that you can't find, let me show you a list. These are the articles. All these articles in black. I hope they're newsworthy. I hope to talk about them. But I can't. There's not enough time. John Kerry's sales pitch to save the planet. Hold on a second. This guy committed treason 200 times. 200 times. There he is on screen. He is the devil's concubine. Okay? Have a great day. I don't want to go any longer. I'm at 22 minutes, and nobody will watch this. I can guarantee you that. Thanks to the handful, about 235 people watch everything I do. I got to get that number up to 10,000. So can you do me a favor, even if you have no money? Or send me $10 if you can, because there's a lawsuit I'm about to file. It's expensive. There's 18 defendants, and it's costly. The fact that the Stanford Superior Court has not heard has heard one jury trial since March 2020 comes back to Lamont's executive power and the debacle that he has created, because there's no civil rights, no due process in Connecticut whatsoever. No due process whatsoever. Zero. How do you know? Because I'm a pro se litigator. I filed the most cases in the Connecticut state history as an individual, not an attorney, who can't get a deposition, can't get a jury trial, can't get an interrogatory answered, can't get an articulation answered, can't get requests for production. And my cases deal with repeated home invasion, murder for hire, 911 calls that you can't get, where, for example, 911 calls in 4 trials where informants were sent by police to kill someone. And the informant is saying, "Why are you calling 911?" And the answer is, by the informant, "Because I'm working for the police." You call the police 911, They put you on hold. What could be the reason? Because the informant's telling the truth. So, we have a problem that in Connecticut, because it's a sanctuary state, we don't follow federal law. And I've been to the FBI 100 times. I can guarantee you this. Comey undermined the FBI by allowing more than 50 agents to break the law unprosecuted. And there's the Kleinsmith indictment on the screen. Pled guilty to falsifying evidence. And guess who rewrote the FISA rules in 2013? My senator, my opponent, Richard Blumenthal. Why? So he could game the system, financially benefit, and what does he own? The Empire State Building through a partnership. Yeah. And he's complaining about Trump's tax returns. Hold on a second. We have the most powerful member of the judiciary in Connecticut. He was Attorney General. What he did as Attorney General, people praise him for? Oh no. I filed a complaint with him in 2001 about Bernie Madoff and money laundering. Guess what? Gave me a boilerplate response. Hold the phone. He has information on the Barrier murder. He let a kid, a black kid, in Stamford, be tasered to death and is in on the bribe, $30 million, to our prosecutor's office. Come and get me. I'll open the case and I'll countersue you for $100 million, because that's what it's worth. So come and get me. The courts are closed anyway, folks. You're not going to get due process in Connecticut. We need to gut this system of the corruption, cauterize the wound. We need to take chemotherapy, folks. And I'll tell you, supporting these people is a disaster. And I'm not pointing the finger at any one party, because it's mutual. Have a great day. I'm a Republican, running as a Republican. I don't have the endorsement yet. But when you see my file in the future, you will understand, okay, that people in Connecticut who are Republicans get framed. Look at T.J. Elgin, framed by Congressman Himes. Who else? Extortion by Congressman Himes. Yeah, extortion. Who else? I'm very interested to hear yesterday that Thomas Gilmer is pleading not guilty and hired an attorney, Norm Pattis, to help him. Norm Pattis, okay, knows how corrupt Judge Heller is. Yes, he does, and so do I. Judge Heller refused to place 911 calls on the record for a jury to hear. Why? Because it implicates the police union and 5 police chiefs who use the same hitman. Yes, his name is Richard. Read the file. Go to State versus Riddle. You can read his transcript. He gets paid to hurt people. Gets paid by police officers and police union representatives to hurt people. So let's get this straight. If the cops send an informant to kill you and they don't get prosecuted for it, it's the judge's fault. Because the judge is supposed to refer criminal activity to the proper agency. In Connecticut, the prosecutor gets bribed and the investigator is Makosi, who was a pedophile's partner while he screwed up the Thomas Cummings investigation. Yes, what'd they do? They promoted him to work for the chief state's attorney for covering up the Thomas Cummings pedophile ring. Hold on a second. We got problems. We got huge problems. keep in mind this. 400 arrests from 2006 to 2016 in Connecticut for human trafficking. 0 prosecutions. 0 prosecutions. Okay? Did they go after the human trafficking ring in Shelton? No. What about Waterbury? No. Why? Oh. Because bribes are being paid, folks. We are in serious trouble, and we need every single Connecticut resident to watch this 30-minute video. Have a great day. Not afraid. When you turn on the light, they scatter. That's exactly what they're going to do. And thanks for listening and sharing. Appreciate, I'm not getting any comments, but I am getting the views. Have a great day.